Captain Bob Schwartz, one of our very own CAPCA members, presenting Occoquan River, working together to keep the water safe. So we do have announcements that we usually do before we get started. So I'm going to turn this over to our president, Tony. There you go.
Okay. Good evening, and thank you all for being here tonight. We've got a very good program tonight. I'm really looking forward to hearing what Bob has to say. We're a little behind schedule, so we're going to run through this pretty quickly. And in just a second, we're going to have the 50-50 raffle drawing, but it's the last chance for any sales. If you haven't gotten any tickets, get them now. I'm going to have Greg go ahead and pull the ticket. You don't have 4 minutes. You got 4 seconds. No, these are mine. These are mine. You can't have mine. Here's the current board of directors. Some of the terms of office are expiring, so we're going to be having nominations. On your table, there's a piece of paper that has the nominations for the coming year. These are going to be voted on at the December meeting. So we have time to have other nominations of people who agree to be nominated. So if you have somebody who you think, for instance, right now, we need a nomination for the continuing education director. And if you have anybody who would like to do that job, our current continuing ed director is Alan Karpus. So if you're interested, you could talk to Alan and see what the job entails. It is a very much needed position for a nomination. Here are okay, so that's that. Next slide. We have a couple of new members here. We did it. Well, they could read that.
Now this isn't working.
So anyway, we do have one new member here. Noel, would you please stand up? He might be the only new member here. Are there any other new members? Gotten somewhere around 31 new members in the last 6 months. And what I'm really, really proud of is the work that was done at the boat shows. We have 55 individuals at the sailboat show and the powerboat show come by the booth and leave their phone number and their email address. So I see a tremendous opportunity for growth over the next few months if we follow up with those contacts. And in fact, I believe over the last just week or two, I've seen 10 or so messages go out to new members, welcoming them to CAPCA. Okay, so I'm going to let Cheryl, you're going to talk about new programs and you're going to give me the mic for the last.
I am. All right. So the upcoming programs, this is the last one for this year. And then we start again in January, and we're putting together a very interesting panel for any of us who want to know how to be a captain and start a business. So we've got the legal and insurance and all sorts of stuff that we have to consider. And so we're putting together that panel now. Bob Thompson and I are working on that. If you have any suggestions, we already have our calls out to a few, but if you have people that you think should be included, let us know. We have an upcoming tour tomorrow, and Mindy is in the room. She lives in Virginia, and she's spending the night at a hotel tonight, attending tonight, and she's one of the lucky ones already signed up for the Coast Guard Command Center tour tomorrow. Who else is signed up for the tour tomorrow? Anybody else? Okay, it was limited. It's limited to only 20 people, and we had to have turned the names in a week ago. Upcoming classes, we have 2 classes coming up. The CPR, Alan's here, but I'll go ahead and announce these. So CPR and AED and first aid for boaters, which will be held on Saturday, November 2nd. And then on November 16th, we're still waiting to hear if we can do the leadership for captains, or do we have enough? Okay, so we need 12 people to be able to do that leadership for captains class. So if you're interested, please be sure to sign up soon. And then our fall business meeting is members only, and that is December 2nd. It's the Monday after Thanksgiving. It will be here in this room, And we have elections. So tonight is the last time to accept nominations from the floor or whatever. And people have to have permission if they're going to nominate someone. They have to be here in the room. So I'm going to give it back to Tony so that you can talk about. And we also have the on each of the tables have the people that have been nominated so far.
I just wanted, because Cheryl has already said about what the nominations are about. So the only thing I want to say is I'm very happy with the Zoom meeting strategy and technology, because of the 55 people that gave us phone numbers and contact information, 21 of them are from out of state. So we have the ability to embrace from all over the country people that want to be members of our association who can take jobs. For instance, as I was talking to Alan, we have somebody from Washington State who's been who gave us their contact information. And if there's a delivery, like Alan said, from one island to another, they can take that job as easily as somebody in Maryland. So we have the ability to really expand the Professional Captains Association to include people from all over the country. That's all I wanted to say, and have a good, oh, and I wanted to say hello to all the people on the Zoom, and I hope that we have a way for you to contact if you have any questions.
All right. With that, let's start our program. So I am happy to introduce Captain Bob Schwartz. The idea for this program came about 10 months ago when we had our elections and you all elected me as program director, and I was starting with a blank slate. And Bob walked up to me at the end of that elections at it was a November meeting last year, and said, you know, we're doing some pretty interesting stuff on the Occoquan River I think would be of interest to our captains. And we talked about it. And he is here tonight to tell us about it. So I'm very happy to have Bob share with us part of his passion and his work for the last since 2016. Is that right, Bob?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. All right. So he's been safety officer in Prince William Yacht Club beginning in 2017. He got his OUPV, his six-pack, in 2016, and after that became a CAPCA member. And his boat, he bought new, a 2003 Sea Ray Sundancer, 31 feet with a 9.5-foot beam and a 4-foot draft. And that boat is often in this river. I happen to really love Bob's objective because I think a lot of us that join CAPCA don't always quote unquote work our license, but Bob's objective is to keep himself safe and any guest aboard as safe as possible while on the water. So that was his sole intent for getting the captain's license, which I think is just lovely. So with that, Bob, thank you so much. And I'll hand you the clicker.
Thank you. Occoquan River Safety Forum, there are lots of different vessels, different types of vessels, and not much space. You'll see that this presentation, we're going to break it up into 3 parts. Why we convene the safety forum, what we do during the safety forum meetings, and the work products that we have arrived at as a result of the safety forum. This is just one part of the no wake zone on the Occoquan River. The upper left-hand corner is the 123 bridge, and it goes down. The second bridge you see is the Route 95 north and south. And you can see that the no wake zone gets pretty narrow. And we have a lot of different craft on that narrow no wake zone. Fortunately, they all come in and go at the same time. Everybody leaves at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock, and they all come back at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock. So it gets pretty hectic. That's the first part. The second part of the no wake zone is from the Route 95 bridge, which is in the upper left-hand corner, and it goes straight down to the Route 1 Route 1 Railroad Bridge. There are 2 bridges right next to each other. And you can notice that the no wake zone starts to get pretty wide as it approaches the end. The no wake zone ends someplace down around Google Earth. That's where it ends. And that's where it really gets pretty hectic. It's a real dog's breakfast there. Boats coming in when we come in at the end of the day, people are in a hurry to get back to their own particular slip. When they want to get going, they're in a hurry to get where they're going, whether it's Mattawoman Creek or up to DC or down south to the Chesapeake Bay. A lot of different vessels. We have a lot of safety concerns on the in the no wake zone. We have a lot of power boats coming from 6 different marinas. We have 6 different marinas on that no wake zone. We have a Carefree Boat Club, which is up in Occoquan. We have Freedom Boat Club, which is in Belmont Bay, putting boats on the water. We have a ton of human-powered vessels, paddleboards, stand-up paddleboards, kayaks, from 2 rental facilities. We have 1 private member facility, which is in Belmont Bay, and they're a club, and they just store them and put people on the water. We have a lot of fishermen, we have ranger type boats, those little with the jack plates and the electric motors in the front. We have some small center consoles. We have people fishing from kayaks. We have a lot of drop-ins. The drop-ins come up to Potomac, down the Occoquan, and they will go to the restaurant, stop at one of the restaurants along the way in Woodbridge or Occoquan. The narrowness of the bridges causes a lot of problems, a lot of choke points, and a lot of people darting in and out between the concrete pilings. We have a big tug from Vulcan Materials. They're pushing in a barge full of sand. We'll show you some pictures of that. 350-foot barge. Most of the operators in the no wake zone have limited to no knowledge of the rules of the road. We try and instill some basic rules, but it's very difficult. There aren't many people who know the rules. So like I said, it's a real dog's breakfast out there in terms of the different types of vessels, different skill levels. And some people, it's really tough when you're dealing with people that are really nice, but they really don't know what they're talking about when they say something. They're tough people to deal with. And we have a lot of power boaters who've been boating for many years, and they just don't understand the rules of the road. They don't understand them. Because there's so many different boats, and because there's so many different opinions about who should go first, and size matters, we've had some pretty bad feelings. The 1-digit salute, very popular. The cursing, very popular. But we've got some pretty loud horns out there. Those big air horns they're pretty loud, but they don't always cause good reactions. They cause some problems. So there are a lot of different issues out there, and a lot of different people on the water, which I think is great. Okay, this is some of the vessels that we have. I have no idea what this is called. No idea. All I know is there's no wake, and we don't have any speed limit in the no wake zone. There's no 6 or 5 or whatever it is. So this fellow can effectively go he can go as fast as he wants to go, theoretically. However, because there's little or no wake produced, we've had to have we've called the Marine. We have 2 Marine police forces that patrol, and a third one will probably come on, Fairfax County, and we have Prince William County. And they control boats like this, vessels like this, and it is a vessel. Just how dangerous they are. If they're going too fast, they're cutting in and out. So that's how they control these people. We have jet skis on which are there, entering and exit the marina is very challenging. They don't really follow any rules. They're usually on their own pretty much. No wake. They'll produce a wake, cutting in and out. So it's really an issue. Note the narrowness of the bridge. That's the 301, the Route 1 railroad, and the railroad bridge next to it. And you'll notice the concrete pilings there holding the bridge up. The fishermen and kayaks and small boats are always darting in and out. So it's really an issue we have to be careful of. This is one of the marinas. This is the marina where I hang out. And you can see that there are kayaks in front of the fairways. From the marina where I hang out, you'll see the tree on the right-hand side. That's where our slip is. It's about 20 to 25 minutes from there to the end of the no wake zone. So it's quite a long no wake zone, quite a long no wake zone. And it does get crowded. And this is a sample, an issue of some human powered vessels, and they really get too close to the fairway sometimes. And it's tough that when the boats come out, they just can't see them. And it makes no difference how fast or how slow they're going, because they really go very slow because I watch them. But you know, when you pop out, when you come out and you don't have any room, it's very difficult to avoid getting too close to these boats. This is the launch ramp for Northern Virginia parks. They put the human powered vessels on the water. They're pretty good. We'll talk a little more about them a little later. But they put a number of kayaks on. But there are also a lot of drop-ins that come in to the river, and they use the ramps there, or they come off some of the boats. Some of the vessels carry their own paddle boards, and they just put the paddle boards on them, and they just drop in the no wake zone. This is a picture of, this is called lounging, and it's when two or more human powered vessels, kayaks, paddle boards, when they stay together, they hang around, they hang on to each other, and they just float around. Either wind blows them or the current takes them. And this exit, both of these, this is the Route 95 bridge. That little bow is from the Alexandria, from our boat. And I took this shot about 9 o'clock in the morning. And it was during when the weather was really very hot. And they were in the shade, and they were just hanging around there. Now they can't, it's pretty tough to get out because we're being blocked. But it could also be fishermen too. Not only human powered, but there are fishermen that'll come out, that'll pop out between the concrete things that hold up the bridges. So this is a problem we have to deal with. We'll talk more about that later. This is a shot of little small sea ray. It looks like going up to Occoquan, or maybe going to Carefree Boat Club, or maybe going to one of the restaurants. But you look and you'll see some of the paddle craft in front of it that have to be taken into effect. This is the biggest vessel that comes in. This big tug is 60 feet long, length overall, 26 feet wide, 1,800 horsepower, and has a displacement of 146 tons. And this is the same vessel pushing the barge. Empty, the barge is about 2,200 pounds. They put about 4,500 tons of, I'm sorry, 22 tons, 220 tons, sorry, not pounds, 2,200 tons empty. It's filled with 4,500 tons of sand, and it really can hold up to 6,000 tons, but they need a depth of 10 feet for the 6,000 tons. There's only about 9 feet or at the Vulcan Materials dock. And these captains are really good. And they're very good listening to 13 or 16. This particular one is entering the Occoquan River. And but the problem is that a lot of our smaller boats, I'm saying up to maybe 25, 26 feet, they don't have radios. They don't carry radios. So there's no way to contact them. Bigger boats, 25, 26 feet and above, they got VHF, they call on 13. And these captains will tell them what to do. What they'll say, well, pass me on the left, pass me on the right, starboard, port, starboard. And hopefully people will listen to them. This over here is the same tug pushing the barge, preparing to dock at the Vulcan Materials tie-up. And he's starting to make the turn. Now, this is one of the, in the no-wake zone, coming down the Occoquan, entering the no-wake zone. This is one of the problems. The boats have to give way to that big tug because they take up so much of the river. Now, every once in a while, you get some moron, I can say some moron, who tries to beat the tug to a spot. And he doesn't have a radio, so he can't contact the tug because the tug will tell you, will ask you to wait. It takes about 20, 25 minutes for this fella to come underneath the bridge and really finish the tie up. So, he'll say, wait, give me 10 or 15 minutes so I can make the turn and then you can come behind me. I was there one day and I just, when they, most of us just sit and go in circles. Just wait for the tug to go by and okay, fine. We'll wait and, play with the boat, play with the reverse, play with forward, back the boat up and figure some way to play with it. But we have to wait. Now, one of the absurd things I saw, a little 260, just beeping the horn at this dude. I mean, give me a break here. I mean, get up to, he wants to go by, beep, beep, a little beep, beep, beep. One of you see everything in boating, and sometimes I make a mistake too, but what the hey. But normally we'll wait. He comes in perpendicular to the dock, and then he disengages from the side, and he starts pushing on the starboard side to make it parallel to the dock. And he's got a deckhand in the front with a big thick hawser who uses a spring line, and they spring it around. But these guys are really good. But he'll tell you to wait a minute or come behind me. He'll tell you what to do, and most of the people I know listen to him. And none of the human-powered craft get near him. None of them, which is good. Sometimes the big 350-foot barge is stuck out perpendicular, and it makes it a little tough going onto that the Route 1 and the railroad bridge. It's pretty tight in there. So again, with the barge and the two boats coming in and out, all no wake, and the fisher people and some of the paddle boarders darting out, it's really you really got to be careful. You really got to be careful. The forum started in 2020, and started in March. And around the end of COVID, the state governors of Virginia and Maryland started to be a little more flexible with voting people that could use boats. And the traffic on the Occoquan and in the wake zone just jumped immeasurably, just exploded. And the mix I thought the mix was causing safety problems. We have a lovely marina boathouse. It's 2 stories. And the second story is a big meeting room, and it has a porch, and it looks out right over the no wake zone. And it was packed. It was packed with all kinds of vessels. So, I hadn't got my captain's license, just got it last year. So, I said, okay, maybe we can run some kind of a safety course to get people to be interested in make it a little safer. So the yacht club gave me some money, small budget, to do something about the potential issues. We started with 1 meeting in March, and we now have 2 meetings in March and November. And Robin Davis was very helpful putting this thing together for me. He had a lot of contacts that I didn't have, but he was very helpful, and he suggested at 1 meeting we do it in March and November, and the group voted yes. That surprised me. I figured 1 was going to be enough, but they wanted to meet twice, so I said, great, let's do it. Now, to put this thing together took lots and lots of phone calls, texts, and emails. What I did was, and it still does, I mean, we're having a meeting November 14th, And I don't know any fewer emails that are going out or phone calls I'm making. It just takes a lot. It takes a lot of effort. The first thing I did was I looked for all the stakeholders. Anybody who put boats on that no wake zone, we wanted at the meeting, because it didn't make any sense to have, for example, not to have the kayak people and the human powered vessel people. It didn't make any sense at all. So we had to get all the stakeholders. And it's not a perfect world. Some we get, some we don't get. But most of the people who attend are regulars. If they don't come themselves, then they have representatives from the organizations come. So these are the stakeholders attending. And what I did was I divided them into groups, so I can control them, have some idea. And the first group I put together was called the ball and strike callers. If there's a baseball fan in the room, Bill Clem, the old arbiter, and Bill Clem's famous words is, "It ain't nothing till I call it." Is it a ball? Is it a strike? Come on, it's got to be one of them. Got to be a ball, got to be a strike. He says, "It's nothing like call it." Well, the ball and strike callers, it ain't nothing till they call it. They really run, and it's very, very matter of fact. They know the law, and they really control what happens on that river or a no wake zone. With the Prince William County Marine Unit, we have the Fairfax County Marine Unit, we have the Coast Guard Auxiliary, we have the Virginia Conservation Police, we have the town of Occoquan Police, and we have the Coast Guard down. Some of these people just showed up, because I didn't even know they existed. I mean, I never knew the wildlife police even existed. I look up and I see a green uniform. I said, "Well, who are you?" He said, "Well, we heard about your meeting. We want to come." Fine, great. That town of Occoquan police are the same way. I think they wear black uniforms, but I'm not sure. They just showed up. There's a guy sitting right back there in the corner. And I said, "Well, who are you?" He said, "Well, we're at the town of Occoquan police." So fine, great, come on board. One thing, all the attendees, all the stakeholders wanted the ball and strike callers on the water as much as possible. They enjoyed having them there. Things were kept down to a dull roar when they were there, and they were really a pleasure to have. Just being parked there in the water helps things. Fire rescue people. We have the Occoquan, Woodbridge, and Lorton Volunteer Fire Department. They're our local first responders. We have the Fairfax County Fire. Surprised the hell out of me. They had they sent a fire truck and the entire shift together with the last time they had a fire truck, the entire shift, and they had a battalion chief come with them. And they are really helpful. And we have the Prince William County Fire. And all of these three fire rescue people, they have boats, rescue boats. And they make it different rescue boats for different types of situations. And it got confusing. They said, "Look, just call 911 and we'll figure it out." So that's what we do. We call 911, we figure it out. We have yacht club associations. We have Prince William Yacht Club. We have Occoquan Harbor Virtual Yacht Club. That's just they don't meet. They meet over the computer, just like we're doing now for the people that are logged on. We have the Occoquan River Yacht Club Association. Denise represents the yacht clubs on the Occoquan River, and there's 6 of them that I know about. There's 6 that put boats on the water that I know about, and there are others that use our water too also. Potomac River Yacht Club Association. We have a representative from usually attend for them, and we have a Chesapeake Bay Yacht Club Association. They usually have a representative there. We've got 3 human-powered vessels groups. One is the Northern Virginia Regional Park Rentals. One is the Belmont Bay Paddlers, and they just showed up. Somebody was sitting over there. We're just sitting over there. "Who are you?" "Well, we represent Belmont Bay. We thought we'd come in. Fine, great, glad to have you." And then we have the town of Occoquan / Penguin Rentals. They're up in the town of Occoquan. these people were crucial people because initially when it started, it became the question of power boaters versus paddlers. And you'll see where we're, the question of right of way becomes a factor. And we'll talk about that as we move along. But they're great people. Trying to Northern Virginia Regional Park, just trying to make a living. The Penguin paddlers just trying to make a living. Belmont Bay just wanted to enjoy the water. When the town of Occoquan comes, the mayor comes, Ernie, and he lets us know any special events. Last year they had these kayak races or canoe races. I can't remember what they called them, but we try and keep our boats off the. If they run it from 9 to 11, we try and get our boats to leave before 9 or after 11 for that one day, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. We have commercial groups. We have Carefree Boat Club, and Mindy's here. We have Freedom Boat Club, which Mike Clark used to be with them. We have Vulcan Materials, and we have Potomac Marine Towboat US. They just showed up one day. I had no idea who they were. They just, came in and there they were. We only have 2 or 3 marinas coming. That's been a disappointment, but it's not a perfect world, and we do what we can. We do the best we can on these. So it's we had 1 marina, and we've been keeping most of the people, we've been keeping them pretty regularly. The ones that come really come. Anyone can attend. So even though a group just shows up, when I put the agenda together, I'm sure I just plug them into the agenda. I give them, and you'll see what I'm talking about in a minute or so. But when new groups or organizations show up, we make time for them on the agenda. We've also had people just show up because they want to see what we're doing. We handle these people a little differently. They're not allowed to talk because I just can't have that. We just can't have people walking off the street and suck up our time. But usually we have time in the agenda somewhere, and I'll show you how we worked it. Usually we have time in the agenda somewhere where I can ask them a question so they can put their 2 cents in and get the information they need. But if they come, that's great. I'm happy. These are pictures of our attendees. Just one back here. We took some shots of them. Now you'll notice it's a big room. There's a restaurant on the grounds of Prince William Marina, and it costs us to use that room. It costs $100, and that's for all the coffee you can drink and all the soda you can drink. I used to put sandwiches out for them, but nobody ate the sandwiches. I mean, so the first was something like $300. It cost me $300 with sandwiches. It cost me $100 without sandwiches, and nobody ate the sandwiches, so I cut the sandwiches out. I would cut the potato chips out too. They get nothing. Coffee and soda. That's all they get. But we get the room. Cody sets it up, gives it to us for use, and because his hours start after 12 o'clock, so he lets us use it. And plenty of parking. They could bring the big fire truck, and there's no problem. They can park the fire truck out the parking lot. No problem. The forum purpose. The purpose is to make the Occoquan River no-wake zone as safe as possible for everyone who uses it. The key words are safe as possible for everyone who uses it. It's not to point a finger, but to accept the responsibilities imposed on each of us. And the rules are written in such a way that every vessel has a responsibility, right? Every vessel has its own response on the particularities of that vessel. And that's what we try and stress. We work hard on that. We have a couple of rules that guide us, because these are easy to understand. Rule 2, inland. Every vessel has equal rights to use the Occoquan no-wake zone according to the rules of the road. No vessel, motor-driven, wind-driven, or human power-driven, is automatically given the right-of-way over any other vessel. And I'm telling you, you want to talk about power boaters who don't know what they were talking about. This really nails it to them. It really nails them. Now, the rest of it, A, you could read for yourself, but B is also very important to power boat, especially the big guys. You know, the guys who get the 50, 60, 60-foot boats, like in a bigger boat, I get out of my way, I'm coming through. But in construing and complying with these rules, due regard shall be had to all dangers of navigation and collision and to any special circumstances, including the limitations of the vessels involved, which may make a departure from these rules necessary to avoid immediate danger. We stress that very heavily. Because the big guys have the most possibility for danger. We don't have to worry about the tug. The tug knows what he's doing. You know, he knows but some of our other people, they're not as really, they don't really know as much about the rules as maybe they might want to. Okay, we look at rule 3 too. The Coast Guard is the lead agency in determining what is and what is not a vessel. A vessel is a watercraft or other artificial contrivance used or capable of being used as a means of transportation on the water. And it really helps to have the Coast Guard Auxiliary and the Coast Guard there when we start talking about this. Focusing on Occoquan River no wake zone, kayaks, paddleboards, someone floating down the river on an inner tube, and motor-powered craft have been determined to be vessels. Somebody comes down the river riding a log with a paddle, that's a vessel. So we make that quite clear of what a vessel is. And we got with the Coast Guard Auxiliary there and the Coast Guard there and the Marine Police there, there's no question about what's going on, what's happening. No question at all. Tell it to the judge. Many of the powerboat operators present thought that they had the right of way. That is not the interpretation of Rule 2. Powerboat operators should be prepared to explain to the judge why a vessel with 1 or 2 engines ran over a human-powered vessel. You can do whatever you want out there. I mean, you're in charge of your vessel. You're there. I'm not there. I don't know what the conditions is. You're operating on the water, but you got to be prepared to deal with any consequences of your actions. And it's really nice to have the ball and strike callers, the Coast Guard Auxiliary, and we've got maybe 5 or 6 real captains out there who if I make a mistake, I'll tell you that if anybody makes a mistake, there's a room full of people telling them that they're not right. And it takes hold. It's really working. Now, unless you're an attorney, the rules of the road are not simple. It is not wise to read the rules of the road as if each were in a vacuum. Each encounter may bring its own set of circumstances. A solid understanding of all the rules is critical to the safety of everyone who operates a vessel. It's tough to find a solid course on the rules of the road without taking a captain's license. I know you need a license too. I've only found one company that will allow you they'll give you the test and they'll let you have an online course. And we use this picture. Who's at fault? I don't know who's at fault. All I know is I see one boat on the other. I don't know what's going on here. I just see one boat on top of another boat. I'm not prepared to place blame for who did what. I mean, that's, let the attorneys and the judge figure that one out. But we know something happened. Okay. Same theme each year. March meeting, what was the biggest safety issue last season? How did I attack it? Should I be prepared to handle it this next season? And in November meeting, how do we do eliminating last season's problems? Does anything new pop up? Essentially, we're finding out what happened what happened just this past season, like this November's meeting will focus on what happened in this past boating season. In the March meeting, we'll repeat what you said in November, how we're going to handle what we perceive to be the problems in November. I'm sorry, in the next boating season. We keep notes. In other words, I have a note taker, and they don't have to copy every word, but just put down the general ideas, and I'll tell you why in a second because we prepare a recap. But just give me some joggers. Also, everybody has a name tent, and I asked them to write down in their name tent, for example, what's your takeaway from this particular meeting? I mean, what's stuck in your mind? Because there are a lot of with all these different stakeholders, there are a lot of different agendas out there. There are a lot of people are looking at it a different way, and we want to be sure that I can't tell, for example, I can't tell anybody in this room what's important about what we talked about for this session. I can't do it because I don't know what's going through your mind. So everybody takes what they want away from the meeting. But I ask them to write down on the name tent the takeaway from the meeting. So I can, if it's something I can follow up on for the next meeting, that's what I do. I just hopefully the same people will be there. And it's not a perfect world, but if I have a different fire shift, then I can't hold one shift responsible for what somebody else said. But we're trying to work our way through it. Also, do you need help from anyone in the room? And we try and stress that it's not, asking for help is not a sign of weakness. Asking for help is a sign of strength that you're trying to do something, but who can help you? And with all the stakeholders, we've got a lot of smart people in that room. We have a timed agenda. We start at 9 o'clock, and I don't mess around, because if I start at 5 after 9, people are going to start coming in at 10 after 9. We ain't having that. So 9 o'clock, we're starting, call to order, agenda review, no breaks, coffee, sodas, restrooms, and let's go. That takes me 5 minutes. You'll notice everything is timed after that. 9:05, 2 minutes per organization. 9:45, 3 minutes per organization. 10:45, 2 minutes per organization. 11:25, 1 minute per organization. And I do that because everybody's input is valuable, and we're just not having somebody suck up the time. Now, practically speaking, we don't get 1 minute from everybody. We don't get 2 minutes from everybody. So I put those in my pocket, and I use them for guys and ladies and gals and guys who I know are my talkers. I got some people that are really talkers, and they have interesting things to say. I mean, they talk about what they're doing, and they really do. So I give them a little more time. This is when sometime in those times, I'll squeeze in if we have a guest come, somebody I've never seen before, they just want to pop in for a question. Sometimes I'll just say, okay, what do you think? Or what do you think about this? You have a question for anybody? I'll just squeeze them in somewhere in that meeting. So usually hopefully everybody gets what they're after. We adjourn this particular meeting 9:05 to 9:45. That's 40 minutes divided by 2. I plan for 20 organizations to show up that time. But we don't always get 20. But we do. It's not like I said, it's not a perfect world. But we always adjourn no later than noon. Usually it's 11:45. I just try not to leave. I try not to leave before 11:45, because I don't want people to get run through it, and if we're quiet, we'll run out of here. So I have some things in my pocket. I keep some things in my pocket for conversations starters and conversation movers. And it doesn't take much to encourage my talkers. And I know who they are. So I just say, ask my question and just get out of their way. As I see it, my job is to make sure that each stakeholder has their interest heard and respected. So everybody's got their own agenda. They're there for a reason. And I've got to be sure, that's the reason why we time these things. to make sure that every stakeholder's got equal time. Make sure there's no finger pointing. The only people we point fingers at are fishermen, because they don't have any representatives there. So the enemy of my enemy is my friend, you know, because he's got, these fishermen. I tried to get somebody from one of the Grinders Wharf, I think it was. They used to run these contests, or somebody told me they ran contests, but I can't find a telephone number. So we always make fun of the fishermen because they're not there. But no finger pointing. I can't have people pointing a finger at the police to be doing this. Police should be doing that. The firemen should be doing this. Firemen should be doing that. Power boaters should be doing. I just can't have that. I don't permit that. And no herd attacks. In other words, we're not having groups attack other groups. We're just not having that. We're there in a professional way, and we're just not going to have herd attacks. Keep the group on topic. That's really important. Unless we got to fill some time, then we got to stay on topic, and we don't go to one topic. In other words, if I got a talker, we don't let him just ramble. He finishes what he has to say, and then maybe we'll give him some more time later on. But we start on time and no later than noon. I try and talk as little as possible. I probably talked more this 37 minutes now than I do during these meetings, because they're not there to hear me. They're here to hear the stakeholders. They want to know what the stakeholders are doing. They want to know what the police think. They want to know what the firemen think. They want to know what other people think. I got to be very careful of what I say, because there's a room full of captains and people who really know a lot. I encourage people. What do you mean by, when you say something, what do you mean by that? Keep track of the minutes. I used to go in order. I used to say stakeholders and first responders. I don't do that anymore, because I found out that the people at the tail end, everything they wanted to say was already said before them. So what I did was, I now take slips of paper and I cut slips of paper out, and I write down first responders, and I write down commercial groups, and I write down whatever the group is that remembers, and I put them in a little cup, and I pick it out of the cup, or I have somebody else pick it out of a cup. And that way it's a random, it's like on the 50-50, it's random. So people who would normally be at the tail end might be first or second, and what they say is the first time people have heard it. So we try and do it that way. This is a pretty tough. Before I retired, my job was to run small group meetings. I used to run 20, 30 or 30 a year, 40 a year, anywhere from 4 people in a room to 20. So we've got a couple of skills and ideas that. And when I say I don't permit it, I don't say you can't say that, but there are ways to, somebody takes a breath, you're on to the next person. You don't let them breathe. That works pretty good. If they can say what they want, but then they go, I'm out of there. They're out of there. They're out of there. Every meeting, we have a recap. I have a recap. I collect the notes from my note takers, and I use what's written on the name tents. And I usually add, I put what organizations were there, not necessarily people, but what organizations were represented. Because like I said, sometimes different shifts come from the fire department. Police have different training rules. They want to send somebody to be trained. So I can't, as long as they're represented, I can't hold them responsibility for somebody else said. But most of our people are pretty consistent. Mindy back there, you're blocked, I can't see you. And Mindy will tell you, we actually do these things. I'll ask Mindy if I left anything out before we're through. But what we discussed, it needs to be remembered. What they said they would do to solve any issues. And I'll try and bring this up the next meeting. And then we have a lifeline, which comes out every month, which I give them 600, 900 words every month. And I'll include the the meeting recap in the Lifeline. And we have people that read the Lifeline from who are in other marinas that are not present. So that gives them at least, I get, who knows how many people read it after that. But the meeting recap and the agenda are important because sometimes when I go out making cold calls to get people I want to come, I tell them I'll send you an agenda and a recap. And like Vulcan Materials, for example, it's a big company, and they don't want to waste their time. So I sent Glenn Cobb. I sent Glenn out. I said, well, let me send you something. So I sent him an agenda, maybe 2 agendas and a couple of recaps. And we don't fool around here. I mean, we're not just wasting oxygen. We're sitting around pooling ignorance, as we like to say. We're not pooling ignorance. But he says, okay, you guys are serious. You're doing something serious, so count us in. And they've been pretty good attendees. The tug. Got to get them there. If you don't have the horses, you can't go to the races. And you got to get people there. And so 2 to 3 months, I start beating the drums. The first email goes to everybody. I don't know, maybe 30, 40 people on the list. I can't remember. The first email goes to everybody. Put in November 14th, meeting November 14th, 9 to 12, same place, ... Second email, if you're really sure you're coming, if you're absolutely positive you're coming, let me know. So I get about, 8, 10 people say, yeah, I'll be there, Bob. So I don't send them another email. I don't keep copying emails. So the email list gets smaller and smaller and smaller. After about 1 or 2 months, when I start getting nervous, I start making phone calls and I start doing individual emails. I'll say, okay, Mindy, are you coming? You would be there, right? And she'll say yes or no, or she's already said yes, so we're in good shape. And then if I'm really having a hard time about a month ahead, for example, I haven't heard from the Fairfax Fire Department yet, so I'll get on the horn or email, and I'll say, if you can't come, then who's going to attend from your organization? Would your organization be represented? And they'll say yes or no. Same thing with the fire department. They're on different shifts, the firefighters. Coast Guard's got a ton of responsibilities up in DC. So it's very difficult to get them. Police training. About 2 weeks at a time, 10 days to 2 weeks. I send out an agenda. I don't want anybody surprised by what we're doing. I want people to come prepared, and it's very you just back in the old days when I was working with the guys I worked on regular, they'll say, "Don't you read the agenda?" I mean, it's right here in the agenda. What didn't you read? But I got to be a little more careful with the fire department, the police department, because I want them there, so I got to be a little more careful with them. But we do send the agenda out about a week to 10 days ahead of time. Okay, work products in no particular order. There's no more use. It's but what I do. This is what I must do to make it safe. We found out from the first responders that people, when they called for help, they didn't know where they were. They had no idea. How can you send help if you don't know where somebody is? And that led to the great discussions about having VHFs, the handhelds, or $100, couple $100, cell phones, which may or may not work. But they introduced us to an app called What 3 Words. Some smart guy has divided. Anybody heard of What 3 Words at all? It's somebody has divided the large part, certainly in our area, into 3-meter squares, and each of those 3-meter squares is identified by 3 words, 3 unique words. And so the first responders, they're really sold on that. So they really think that works. The Coast Guard Auxiliary, very helpful. They have a young man there who is certified in a lot of this training for paddle boards and kayaks. And he's done some work with Northern Virginia Regional Park and Belmont Bay. He's been over there, and I'll show you some of the things that he's introduced to him. Things like putting reflectors on paddles and stickers. Carefree and Freedom both increased their increased, added, adjusted their training. That's what they told me. I'm taking their word for it. I can't believe, long blasts, as though we're trying to get the boats, the power boats, when they come out of the fairways, to give a nice long blast, 5 seconds to 6 seconds, just like the book says. It's amazing how many people can't count to 5. They can't count to 5. What's so hard about that? It's like life jackets. I can sit and watch boats, and there are more dogs wearing life jackets than people over 13. I just don't understand that. But right now I say just make noise. Just make noise. That's all you got to do. Make noise. Networking among the first responders. They really don't talk to each other that much. We're getting, and they're always talking outside together. Which is good. Increased on-water patrolling day and evening. We got that. Law tutorials. What water is legal? Who owns the water? No, the marinas may not own the water. The new flashing light move over law. We talked about that. Let me show you some of the things that you can really look at. These are something the Coast Guard Auxiliary presented. There are some copies up here, which Cheryl dropped off. But these stickers, evidently, if a paddleboard or a rowboat or a kayak is found floating away with nothing on it, it sets in motion some requirements that some of these organizations have to follow to find out if in fact somebody was drowning or somebody needs help. So the Coast Guard Auxiliary showed us these stickers with name and telephone numbers on them that saves a lot of time. Second thing, which really helps, these are reflectors, and they go on the blades of the kayaks and paddleboarders, and they catch the sun. And they're so low to the water sometimes when they're down there, you really don't know what you're looking at. There's a log, there's a sun, but if it catches the sun, it flashes and you get a better shot at it. And then there's a training, they have a training 10 or 11 items when they go to the Northern Virginia paddleboarders and the penguin paddling. Essentially, they review with their with the people who rent. They review some of the safety laws, safety rules, and these things help to focus them and what the Coast Guard Auxiliary thinks is important. We've also put up some signs. This is our marina, Prince William Marina. Our guy Carl's a great guy, and he put up this sign. The big sign is facing the water, and it reminds paddleboarders that boats are coming in and out of this, and they may not see you, so just be aware of this. And the small one down here is facing in the fairway to remind the boaters as they go out that there may be some paddleboarders close by. You got to be careful. Okay. And at least, we try and get that long blast on top of it, but at least we're not getting shave and a haircut 2 bits anymore. We don't get that anymore, thank goodness. One of our guys, what he did was he put some charts together and he color coded it. And green means you're okay. Green means that the paddleboarders are safe in this area because it's so shallow. The yellow means that the channel area is where larger vessels are, and that's in the middle. And the low visibility is red, and you'll notice they're right by the entrance to some of the marinas, right on top of the right on top of the fairways. And he has it covering the whole, the whole, he's got the whole no wake zone. And this is the last part of the no wake zone, it's still the same colors. But again, this large area is where we have most of our problems, because that's when the boats are trying to speed up to get in or get out, or get to the dockage, or get out to the out of the no wake zone. Mindy, did I miss anything? Okay, and we do that, right? I mean, I'm sorry.
I know, so see where the yellow is
Mm-hmm.
on that?
Yeah.
That's the actual channel, that's really the only, all the stuff to the north of it, or up of. Hey, Mindy, yeah, come up to that microphone, thank you. No, you have to, because we're.
Yeah, but I want
Okay.
to yell loud. So from here to here, this is all, how do I put it? It's okay, I'm sorry. So from this shoreline all the way over to here, it's actually very, very shallow and
Right,
full of
right.
eelgrass and hydrilla.
Right.
So really the only channel on this upper part is straight right down here through there with a nice little 90-degree turn.
Yeah, I haven't. Thank you. I haven't. There seems to be an agreement. It's working. There's not as much aggravation between the paddle boarders, the kayakers, and the power boats we used to have. Now that they've picked the fishermen. Okay, that's it for me. Any questions?
All right. Who has a question here in the room? Greg, I'm going to ask you to come up to the microphone. No. Okay. I'll bring you my microphone, because we're really trying to be good to the Zoomers.
Where's the Vulcan dock in that, on that?
I'm sorry.
The Vulcan dock, where the tugboat goes and its barges?
The Vulcan is just after the
There's
they come under, they come underneath the 301, I'm sorry, the Route 1 bridge. This is the Route 1, this is the Route 1 bridge right here. So the Vulcan would be over this side over here.
and it goes into here.
Yeah, it comes under the bridge like this,
Uh-huh.
and makes that turn.
It makes a 90-degree
Makes that
turn.
90-degree turn. And this is a marina. This is Occoquan Bay Marina, right, Cindy? Occoquan Bay Marina, and it comes in right there. That's with Vulcan. And this is where they come under this bridge here, stay in here, and start their swing right about here. And then when they get, then they get it perpendicular. What they do is they use a big hawser to spring line in, is what they do.
So for those online, they're coming up underneath the Route
Yeah,
1 bridge, and then making a 90-degree before that marina that
Right.
you see just above
Yeah,
it.
they make that 90, they make the 90-degree just to head smack into the docking area. And then and then he releases, comes over here and pushes it this way. Just like we do with our boats. I mean, it's the same thing, except it's a thicker rope, And he has a in the front, he has a crew member in the front with a hawser that releases, and so they can pivot. They pivot.
Okay, thank you. Tony, I'll bring you this.
This sounds like a nightmare.
What's a
all their
nightmare?
With all their smaller vessels that may not know the rules of the road.
They-
And
they-
you've got a tugboat with a barge, and I'll bet that captain can't see a quarter of a mile in front of him with all
No.
the
He-
sand.
No,
So have there been any events
no, none reported. None
with-
reported.
with between, you told me there's a lot of the one finger salute,
Yeah,
but there have been no actual collision events in that area.
the police and the first responders have not reported any collisions or events. I mean, haven't reported. I can't say it have been. None have been reported, because we ask them, what's going on out there. But, and you know, a lot of it's because of the captains are really good. I mean, these Vulcan captains are really good. I mean, you know, they know what they're doing.
Are there any questions online before I go to the next one in the room? Dave? Any questions in the chat, in the Zoom? Okay. All
Yes,
right, Jonathan.
there is a comment in the chat from Hans.
Go ahead, Hans.
Oh, Hans has a question. Okay. All right. Jonathan, can you come up to the, I'm sorry, not Jonathan. Yes. Can you come up to the microphone? Thank you.
So one question and one may be a room survey. Bob, just to give us a magnitude of the boaters there, out of 6 marinas, how many slips would you say? Any idea?
I can't, well, I asked Carlton the other day, how many boats are there? He said 2,500 boats of all the marinas.
In that stretch you showed us.
Well, there was some other on the side too that,
Okay.
but I'd say there's got to be, I mean, our marina has what? 400 boats, so just out of our marina.
Sure.
So I'd say that, you know, I would say that 1,500, 2,000 is a reasonable number among those 6. Because you know, I mean, they're nice, but they come at the same time. You know, I mean, and not only that, but we have every once in a while, which I haven't seen, there are racing shells, some high school racing shells on that Occoquan also. Yeah, and because they store them there. I've only been on the river once or twice when I've seen them practicing.
It's farther north.
Yeah, so I don't think they're there very often, but you know, it's who knows. But you know, I would say you could be out there, maybe 100, 150 boats, you know, of all kinds, you know,
Right.
easily. I mean, and coming in, going out, you know.
Yeah. And the second question I'll pose to Bob, but maybe the room would discuss, what do we feel about recreational boater licensing?
Oh.
It's a very hot topic that I've stuck my foot in more than once, so.
So how do we feel about recreational boater license? I was just, had my son's family from North Carolina with me on our boat this weekend. And his wife was totally amazed that you can drive a boat without a captain's license. Yeah. Yeah. So any thoughts about that? Yes. Bob, would you like to come up to the microphone? Bob Thompson. Thank you, Kevin, for your questions.
Sure. I actually had another question, but to talk to that, the licensing thing, I retired from the Coast Guard a long, long time ago. I was somewhat peripherally involved in some of these policy discussions on both life jackets and licensing. And, you know, the result that we have now is that I think almost every state requires you to take once in your lifetime a boater education card, depending on the age, depending on what state you're in, and produce that card as evidence. And you can take that test once and a year later have no recall of it. So I think it's kind of like the great motorcycle helmet debate. It's, you know, how much should the government, you know, force you to do things? What's the balance of you know, individual judgment? So I know I have my own opinions on it, and I might want to see some more stricter regulation on that.
Well, somewhere between
Yeah.
Taking an online course that takes maybe an hour and a half and a full captain's license. Because I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I worked hard for my license. I took it online, took me 10, 12 months, easily the equivalent of any college course I've ever taken, easily. I mean, from top to bottom. Somewhere between those two, there's something we can agree on. You know, whether it's every 2 years, every 4 years, every 5 years, I don't know. But there are just a lot of people who just, you know, this whole concept of right of way, of boats having the right of way, that's a serious issue in my view.
So Bob, what was your question?
The question I was coming up to ask, reaching the HPV constituency, I learned a new acronym, HPV, so paddle boats, human powered boats. Sounds like a challenging constituency to reach. Are you getting any feedback from whatever groups they're organized that they're sensing and responding to what you're trying to do?
We've got certainly 2 of the 3 have asked our Coast Guard guy, our Coast Guard auxiliary person, to speak before him.
Okay, yeah.
And he's the one, the Coast Guard auxiliary guy, Joey, is the one who introduced this. And he introduced this. And I know he's gone training for 2 of the 3 human-powered vessels. I know he's done that. So, it's not a perfect world. They're trying to make a living. They're trying to get people out there. They're trying to, rent. They want to rent things. It's a profit center. Are people paying attention? I mean, it's just not, but you do the best you can. You just keep throwing things on the wall. I hope something sticks. That's all I can say.
Any other questions in the room? All right. Hey, Hillary, we did have a couple more slides just one more slide to share. If you can go back, that would be great. But in the meantime, I would, for all of us to thank Bob for his president.
Well, I must say that I should be one thanking you people, because you know so much more than I do, that I feel inferior in terms of knowledge, and anything I'm able to do is because I've come to these meetings and listened to what you people had to say, and you just take things back with you. This is one of the things we took back with us.
Well, thank you, Bob. And you've been a very loyal attendee at our meetings.
I learn a lot when I come here.
Yeah, so that's great. I've only been a member for, I think I'm coming up on 3 years now. So, and I think every time we've had an in-person meeting, you've been here, except for last month.
I've been to most of them. I can't say everyone, but I've been to most of them, certainly.
So thank you very much.
Cheryl, this is Hans. Can I?
Appreciation. You might already have one. I did put a little surprise in just in case.
Thank you. Thank you.
So thank you again.
Thank you.
And I know this is now what we're waiting for this evening to, Dave, yes. Is there a question in the chat?
Yes, Chair, this is Hans. I had a question in the chat, so I'm going to voice it. Bob, I had the fortune to have to sit with you at dinner. You told me about your captain's license. I had no idea about the tremendous contributions you are making to safety on the water. So I commend you and I thank you.
Well, thank you very much. But, it's a team effort. I mean, every stakeholder that we have coming is very serious about it. I mean, they're there on time. They focus. They're prepared. They understand. They like not having finger pointed at them. But I'm just the conductor. It's the people that are in the room that really make the difference. I just, you can talk, you can't talk. I'm just a vessel, and they're the ones that really make it work.
Thank you, Bob. All right. So, go ahead. So before we pull the door prize, I just wanted to point out we have the upcoming programs and things on your table. And I was sitting at my table and went, why are there 2 different colors for the same information? So in my haste today, I didn't do the evaluation form that we normally fill out. So any of you can just shoot me an email if you have anything to suggest for speakers or give us feedback on tonight. I don't know why I spazzed out on that this afternoon. All right. So I am the only person in the room that should not have a door prize ticket. Everybody else should have a blue ticket. Is that true? Bob has been very good about getting them out, and I see you have one too here, right, Bob Schwartz? Okay, you ready? All right, because I do not have one because, oh, wait, did they see it? You saw the Bacon's okay, as long as you saw it, because I went and got the gift certificate from Bacon's, and I also asked them for it, and they said yes, and they surprised me because they said $100. I was thinking they were going to give us $25, so I'm very excited. Say more than a pound of bacon, yes. So I am the one pulling it because I'm the only one in this room that doesn't have it. All right, so who has 037? All right, $100 at Bacon's. All right, now don't go away yet. Don't go away. You go get your oh, sorry, I have it. See me back at right before we leave, right after this. And your name? Oh yes, Patrick. So I just need to make sure I have your email address, which I'm sure I do. because Bacon's would like that, and they'll have you in their system and blah, blah, blah. But I do have an actual gift certificate to give you. It's in my bag. All right. Consolation prize. Hillary has donated. Thank you, Hillary, a second door prize. So this lovely book. So I am going to come over and pull another ticket, Bob. I didn't tell you that. All right. Okay. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. 031. Who has 031? There you go. All right. Yay. All right. Okay. So thank you all for coming. It's really great to have you here. Oh, Bob. Yes. Name tags. Please leave these when you leave. And thank you all for being here. And we hope to see you on December 2nd. Members only. Dinner we'll have dinner like in the room instead of down there. And I think there's going to be a $15 a piece charge. It costs more than that. I think it's a $35 a night. So we're subsidizing $20 a piece. Members just pay $15. Thank you. Follow me. All right.